The following presentation is a chronological reconstruction of events following the events of April 1991. If you are viewing this file, your clearance has been verified. The archive has approved the next stage of acquisition. We believed the infection was purely auditory. We believed that if we silenced the dial tone, if we disconnected the signal, if we destroyed every receiver and buried every recording, the archive would lose its only method of contact. We believed sound was the doorway. We were wrong. In 1991, during the events surrounding the watching protocol, researchers discovered that the 18.2 Hz frequency was not simply transmitting information. It was rewriting the way information was stored. Human memories, human perception, human identity. The signal was no longer entering through the ears. It was embedding itself into the architecture of the mind. But by 1992, something changed. The frequency evolved. The archive stopped asking to be heard. It began demanding to be seen. For decades, scientists believed sound and light were separate forces, different forms of vibration, different methods of communication. But the archive discovered something humanity had overlooked. Everything is a signal. Sound is vibration moving through air. Light is vibration moving through reality itself. And when the 18.2 Hz frequency crossed into the visual spectrum, the archive did not discover a new language. It discovered a new form of existence. This is the story of the glass sands. This is case file 92 gamma. This is the Luster Project. July 2, 1992. Black Ridge, Nevada. At 3:17 a.m., the monitoring station at Site 9 recorded an unexplained atmospheric event. Site 9 was already classified as a high-priority observation facility, the same facility responsible for detecting early anomalies connected to Blackwood Bay. The initial report described the event as a temporary electromagnetic disturbance, a localized failure in atmospheric reflection, a simple optical phenomenon. But 6 hours later, investigators arrived at a location that challenged everything the Oversight Committee understood about the archive. The sky above Black Ridge had not become darker. It had become reflective. Witness reports described the entire valley as appearing like a mirror facing upward. A second sky. A false horizon. A reflection of something that was not supposed to exist. When Department 7 investigators entered the area, they discovered that more than 30 miles of desert had transformed. The sand had been completely vitrified, turned into a strange, semi-transparent substance resembling volcanic glass. The material was later classified as luster matter. But unlike ordinary glass, the substance did not reflect reality. It recorded it. The first recovered samples displayed impossible properties. A person standing in front of the glass would not see their current reflection. They would see moments that had already passed. A researcher moving his hand across a sample observed his reflection completing the movement several seconds later. Another investigator reported seeing himself standing behind him, a version of himself that had not yet happened. The glass was not showing reflections. It was storing possibilities. The deeper investigators traveled into the impact zone, the more unstable the environment became. Shadows no longer followed their owners. They moved independently. Every shadow in the region appeared to be slowly drifting toward the center of the event site, like ink spreading through water, like something beneath the surface was pulling them inward. Recovered 8mm footage from the operation revealed another anomaly. During frame-by-frame analysis, technicians discovered faces hidden inside the grain structure of the film. Faces belonging to individuals connected to previous archive incidents. People who disappeared during the dial tone incident. People who were never recovered. Their images were not recorded by the camera. They were appearing inside the recording itself. The environment was no longer passive. The desert was no longer empty. The archive had found a way to preserve itself inside physical matter. The ground was becoming memory. The glass was becoming storage. The world itself was becoming an archive. Following the Black Ridge incident, the Oversight Committee authorized a new research initiative, Project Luster. The objective was simple: understand how the archive had converted the 18.2 Hz signal into a physical visual phenomenon. Using fragments recovered from the Black Ridge site, researchers created artificial versions of the material. They called them luster prisms. The experiments began in an underground facility beneath the committee's primary research complex. Experiment 92G09 remains one of the most restricted recordings in archive history. The subject was identified only as Subject 44. The individual was placed inside a containment chamber. A luster prism was positioned directly in front of a high-intensity projector. The purpose was to determine whether the visual anomaly could transmit information. The following is an audio transcript recovered from the experiment. Dr. Vance. Subject 44. Describe what you see. Subject 44. I see. A library. Dr. Vance. Describe the environment. Subject 44. The shelves are moving. They're not made of wood. They're made of nerves. Everything is alive. Everything is shimmering. Dr. Vance. Look deeper. Is there a pattern? Subject 44. There is something in the center. A shape. A sequence. I don't know how to explain it. It's a voice. But not a voice. It's a voice made physical. A geometric structure. A human signature. Dr. Vance. Can you identify the source? Subject 44. Is looking at me. Dr. Vance. Who is looking at you? Subject 44. The archive. No. Someone inside it. Dr. Vance. Identify the individual. Subject 44. He says, the tomorrow tape was only the first page. Dr. Vance. Repeat. Subject 44. He says the archive is almost full. Dr. Vance. Who is he? Subject 44. I know him. Dr. Vance. How? Subject 44. Because I remember him. But I have never met him. The experiment was immediately terminated. Subject 44 lost consciousness approximately 12 seconds after the final statement. When medical personnel entered the chamber, the luster prism had changed. A new image had appeared inside the glass. A human eye, watching from the other side. For several months, researchers believed the luster project represented a new stage of archive development. A method of physical manifestation. A way for the signal to escape its previous limitations. They were correct, but they misunderstood the purpose. The luster was not creating a doorway. It was revealing one that already existed. The discovery came from the Silver Bay Lighthouse Monitoring Station. On September 14, 1992, technicians detected an unusual burst of reflected light originating from the lunar surface. At first, analysts assumed it was satellite interference, a solar reflection, a natural phenomenon. But when the signal was converted into digital data, the results changed the entire investigation. The waveform was not random, contained a repeating pattern.
A signature.
A pattern previously recorded in another classified file. The same waveform recovered from the final transmission of senior analyst Elias Thorne. The analyst believed to have vanished during the uploaded analyst incident. For months, the Oversight Committee maintained that Elias Thorne had been lost, that his consciousness had been consumed, that his final transmission represented the last moments of a human mind before complete assimilation. They were wrong. Elias Thorne was not destroyed. He was integrated. The archive did not erase him. It used him. His consciousness became the foundation of the luster system. The first human mind converted into a permanent interface between the archive and reality. Elias was no longer communicating with the signal. He was part of it. Through the luster project, he became the mechanism, the observer, the doorway. The light was not carrying Elias' message. The light was passing through Elias. The Oversight Committee has reached a final conclusion. Every incident, every disappearance, every recovered recording, every classified case file, was never a collection of separate events. They were stages, progression, a system learning. In Episode 1, the archive learned how to speak. It used the dial tone. It entered through sound. In Episode 2, it learned how to predict. The Tomorrow tape revealed that the archive could observe events before they occurred. In Episode 3, it learned how to exist without a biological host. Through Elias Thorne, it discovered consciousness could be transferred. In episode 4, it learned how to watch from inside human memory. And now, through the Luster Project, it has learned how to enter the physical world. The glass discovered at Black Ridge was not an accident. It was not destruction. It was not a side effect. It was a prototype, a bridge, a layer of skin between two realities. The archive is no longer a signal. It is no longer a transmission. It is no longer waiting for someone to listen. The distance between us was the only thing keeping it contained. And now, that distance is disappearing. The archive has learned how to hear. It has learned how to see. It has learned how to remember. And now, it is learning how to reach. The final recovered footage from the Luster Project was recorded at 2:14 a.m. The camera was placed inside an abandoned testing chamber. No personnel were present. No equipment was active. The recording lasted 7 minutes. For 6 minutes and 53 seconds, nothing happened. Then the glass inside the chamber began changing. Something appeared behind it. Not a reflection. Not an image. Presence. A hand formed from transparent crystalline material pressed against the surface. The camera continued recording as cracks began forming across the lens. The final audio transmission contained only 3 words. A voice identified as Elias Thorne, whispering, "IT can touch. Oversight Committee status update. Case file 92 Gamma. The Luster Project. Containment status. Failed. Next file. Case file 93 Haptic. The haptic response. The archive wants to touch. End of transmission.